Okay. So, hi everybody. How are you? For the last 2 raid releases, I've done boss guide reviews ahead of launch. The goal of these is to kind of get a sense of what the bosses are before we get into PTR. I've never done Wrath of the Lich King, let alone ICECROWN Citadel, but I think that we did a pretty good job in Ulduar in TUGC, and I'm really looking forward to ICECROWN Citadel. Everyone going into Wrath was really excited about Ulduar and ICC, and they said that those are two of the best raids that Blizzard has ever put out. I really loved Ulduar. I feel like Ulduar might have been, well, I mean, it was the best raid that I think that I've done since vanilla launch. And so a lot of people have mixed feelings about Ulduar after having done it for as long as we did, but I really enjoyed it. I feel like Algalon and Yogg-Saron are really great, really great fights, and they were varied and fun. And so I'm excited to see ICC and seeing what the logical conclusion of Wrath of the Lich King is. You know, Arthas has been this looming figure this whole time, and we're going to finally get into his story and concluding it. So I'm really excited. Some of these fights are some of the better fights in the game. Notably, I think the Lich King is supposed to be one of the most retail-like fights, which is a compliment in this case, because I think that retail raids are considered really strong. And so I'm really looking forward to that. There's like multiple phases and lots of different things to do, and so that'll be really fun. And a lot of the other fights are really cool. There's Shadowmourne, there's a legendary at the end that's really exciting. There is a lot of really cool loot and some fun quests to do. So we're going to watch the launch cinematic, and then today we're going to do the first few bosses. We'll probably end with Deathbringer Saurfang, and then tomorrow we'll get into the Plague Wing and the Blood Wing, and then Thursday we'll do the Frost Wing, and we'll do the Lich King. So come hang out. It's a lot of fun. Ask questions. I'm going to ask you guys questions. It's going to be a whole thing, and then this will get onto YouTube. So ICC is not a PTR. No, it is not. But it will be soon. I can't tell you when, but I'm very excited. There's some, Eber's saying there's some really cool loot. DBW, Shadowmourne, some stuff off of Lich King's super hype. So, okay, let's watch the cinematic, and then we'll get into the first boss. Set the mood.
Rise up, Argent Crusaders! The hour of justice has come!
Hear the voices. It's so good.
Can you feel it, my son? Closing in all around you. The light's justice has been awakened. The sins of the past have finally caught up to you. You will be called to account for all the atrocities you've committed. The unspeakable horrors you've let loose upon this world. Dark, ancient powers you've enslaved. Though my soul was one of the first to be devoured by your evil, there are thousands more bound within this blade, and they cry out for release. Look now to your defenses, my son, for the champions of justice gather at your gates.
Hear the battle. It's so great. This is the fucking best.
Let them come. Frostmourne hungers.
You bitch.
ICC hype.
The timing on that was so good. He a bitch. The fact that all of that buildup of him being like, the light is coming for you, these heroes are coming for you, his dad's saying essentially you're fucked, and he just responds with "let them come." It's so hype, dude. Like it's like it's the best response he could have had. It was just, the writing is so great. They did such a great job. They really, really did. This World of Warcraft story up until the end of Wrath of the Lich King, and I can't speak for the rest of it because I'm not as familiar with it, but up until the end of Wrath of the Lich King, it is really, really, really great. The way that they handled it was just really awesome. And props to them and all those guys for creating a really memorable character. It's one of video game's best characters. So, I don't know how much Shadowmourn's gonna go. Probably answered, but do you think they will release one wing a week? I think they're gonna release the whole thing at once. I have no knowledge, for the record, but if I were them, I would release it all at once with a 0% buff, and then every week it goes up 5% for 6 weeks or whatever. That's what I would guess. But I don't know. Well, who knows? I have no knowledge. Okay, so let's talk about the first encounter, Lord Marrowgar. Okay, so Marrowgar is kind of famous in that he has a couple awesome voice lines that people like to say over and over again. We'll look at the difference between normal and heroic, but I think it behooves us to do normal, because a lot of the time the heroic boss guides are like just like on normal, and then it's like, okay, well, I don't know the normal, so I can't go into it. Okay, let's do Marrowgar. These are Tankspot guides. Tankspot is kind of the gold standard for boss guides back in the day. Ciderhelm was kind of the guy, and so I think that it's a good start. If there's anything that we should go over that's not in here, hit me with it in chat, and I'll also pull up the wiki, and we can just talk about it. This is the first encounter. I think it's supposed to be generally pretty easy, but of all first encounters, this might be one of the harder ones. I guess Northern Beast is also kind of one of the harder ones, but here we go. Let's talk about Lord Marrowgar.
Welcome to the ICECROWN Citadel Raid Guide. My name is Kanzer. In this video, I'll be going over our 25-man strategy for Lord Marrowgar, the first encounter in ICECROWN Citadel. If you'd like more information or would like to learn more about downloading this movie, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to Tankspot. Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right so you'll automatically be notified as we release movies. Lord Marrowgar serves his purpose well as the introductory boss in ICECROWN Citadel, and is pretty straightforward and requires simple coordination from everyone in order to down him. For this fight, we use 3 tanks and 7 healers. Lord Marrowgar will need...
Hold on. 3 tanks. This is a theme that you will see in a lot of these videos, is that they use probably 1 too many tanks and a couple too many healers. From our research, I think you will very likely be using 4 healers in ICC. You'll probably use 5 on Prog, but you will drop to 4 pretty quickly, and then it's possible to do 3 healers for some fights depending on the fight. So plan accordingly. I would plan for 5 healers and then have some drop to DPS later in the phase, is what probably we're going to do, as it's kind of been the MO for things in the last couple of raids.
Need to be tanked in the middle of the room about where he stands, and the raid needs to spread out evenly all around him, but not enough that they're out of range of the healers. Healers should spread themselves out accordingly to reach everyone and not all be clumped up in one spot. Melee should take advantage of the boss's huge hitbox and spread themselves out in a semicircle behind the boss to avoid multiple people getting hit by flames.
Okay, so this is Bone Storm. This is the voice line, Bone Storm, that everybody is very fond of. He does like a whirlwind thing.
The There are 3 distinct abilities to keep in mind during this phase. First off, Lord Marrowgar does an attack called Saber Lash. This does 300% of his normal melee attack damage and spreads it between the tank and the 2 closest people to him, and prevents them from being impaled by Bonespite Graveyard. This is the reason for having 3 tanks, as you don't want a single tank taking the full-on attack, nor DPS taking any part of this attack.
So I think you can 2-tank this and have a DPS soak as well. It's kind of like Meteor Slash, but it's a melee move. So like the tanks have to stand in front of him and soak it so that it doesn't one-shot a tank. The damage is split amongst the people that he hits. Not too complicated. I think you can 2-tank it, and then like a third can stand in front and soak it also. TBD on the values that we'll end up using, but I have a feeling you're going to 2-tank it. I think you're going to probably 2-tank most of ICC.
For this reason, all of the tanks should stand within 5 yards of each other and should do their best to stay that way throughout the fight's entirety.
I don't know, Dirk.
The second ability to be aware of is called Cold Flame. Marrowgar will occasionally spit out lines of fire that target a particular player and move in a straight line towards that player until gone. While in the fire, a player will take 7,000 frost damage every second for 3 seconds. This is very simple to avoid, as all you need to do is sidestep out of the way and let it go by you. Melee should pay particular attention to this, as they can find a fire right on top of them at any given time. Despite being flames, they do frost damage, so it's a good idea to run Frost Protection Aura or a Totem.
Never run Frost Totem, always an Aura.
Finally, Lord Marrowgar performs an attack called Bonespite Graveyard. What this does is impales 3 random...
Okay, so Bonespite Graveyard. This is one of those fights that you're going to rage at people for not doing mechanics. You know what I mean? I'm going to rage at people for not doing mechanics. It's also the first fight of the raid, and so it's going to set a tone for the rest of your night. Just stack and cleave. Okay. Well, maybe that's a strategy that we'll do. That sounds probably likely, but generally you need to DPS these spikes, and if they're not killed, people die. So he'll do it to 3 people, and yeah, 5 shamans is a lot of shamans. 1, 2, maybe 4. I can't see. So we make sure that these things die.
Raid members and traps them into one of these graveyards. These graveyards deal 10% health per second in damage, as well as immobilizes whoever gets hit. So they need to be broken out of immediately before a flame overwhelms them, or they die from the tick in general. It's not fun having to heal someone getting hit by both. Ranged DPS should be divided into 2 groups on the left and right side of the boss, and their priority is to break people out of these graveyards before resuming DPS on the boss, starting from the outside in. Melee should assist with any that appear near them, otherwise just keep DPSing Marrowgar.
Can you bop those spikes? I don't believe so. I'd be surprised. You could probably bop the damage, but it won't break it out like it does with the constrictors.
Eventually, you'll get an emote that says Lord Marrowgar falls apart and his bones begin to spin. This signals Marrowgar is about to go into a whirlwind, which is phase 2. DPS should continue as normal. When Marrowgar goes into his whirlwind, he'll begin targeting random people and moving very fast back and forth between them. The whirlwind itself does an insignificant amount of damage.
Cosmo, thank you.
However, while he is doing this, he will shoot out cold flames at 4 different angles at an accelerated rate. So it's important that everyone is paying attention and moving to avoid these fires. The whirlwind lasts for 30 seconds, and the tanks need to be right there when he wears off to pick him up because his aggro will reset once it's finished. DPS should allow the tank a couple
interesting. His aggro reset when he finishes Bone Storm. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So make sure, he's probably tauntable, but make sure that you watch it. This is another thing where like rogues tricks and MDs and stuff at the end of Bone Storm would be very nice. Keep that tank ahead of your DPS.
Seconds to re-establish aggro and position before resuming DPS.
Not a ton of mechanics
Once the
here.
whirlwind is done, he goes back to normal and it's simple rinse and repeat until he's a pile of bones at your feet. All in all, this is a simple encounter that requires basic movement, positioning, and proper placement to get through. As long as everyone performs as they should, you shouldn't have much trouble. Thanks for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on Tankspot.com. Also, Tankspot donors can download all of these movies in high definition directly from our servers. Click the second link in the movie information box to learn more.
So I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the fire won't spawn right underneath him, right? So you guys are saying stack. If you stack, you're not in danger of the fire, right? Because it'll spawn behind you. And so that will make it so that you don't even have to move. I get it. I get it now. That sounds pretty smart. We'll see if it works like that. I would guess it does, but you know, it's one of those things that you can't know until you go. Either way, it's a pretty easy fight from the looks of it. There's not too many mechanics. Tank soak, kill the spikes. If he's bone storming, there's probably going to be some interesting AI on the bone storm itself that we end up discovering, like where it goes and stuff. You know how like things are scripted oddly and all of a sudden we're like, oh, we can actually do this or that. So we'll see what ends up happening. Like, is he tauntable during the bone storm? Yeah, DSAC can eat it, stuff like that. It goes towards the furthest target. Okay, so then you might have like people set up, you know, far away early or whatever to soak it or whatever. We'll sort it exactly how to do it. But it's a small optimization, not that big a deal, and it seems pretty easy. Looks like they get 3 bone storms. This is also one of those fights that for speed running, you're going to want to minimize the amount of bone storms that you get because it lowers your DPS because your melee are running around. So you're going to want to like quote unquote meet a DPS check in order to do the thing. Engaging the boss also pulls the 2 giants before him. Interesting. I wonder when we just 2 tanks stack with the hunter out. Yeah, that seems pretty easy. On heroic mode, you need to watch out for the defiles. There's no defile in this fight, Jimmy. Crazy? You crazy, Jimmy? Okay, let's talk about Lady Deathwhisper. Okay, so Lady Deathwhisper is the second encounter in ICC. It's a pretty cool fight. It's an ad-focused fight. You're going to hate the sound of her voice. She won't shut up the entire fight. She's just... Hopefully there's a weak ore that turns her voice lines off because holy shit, it's awful.
Hi, I'm Lord from Tankspot, and welcome to the 25-man normal video guide for the Lady Deathwhisper encounter.
Too much flashbang.
Lady Deathwhisper is fought in 2 phases, of which the first is by far the most complex. She'll shield herself with a mana barrier.
Okay, so this room is full of ads that you kill, and then you walk in, and she's sitting in the back just like being all emo, right? And she's got this shield that... can't see because he's not targeting her, but she's got a mana shield like a mage does, and you have to burn through all of her mana for her to pop out and be actually DPSable, because otherwise she just takes mana as damage. And then once that mana shield pops, it starts phase 2. Phase 1 is the hard part. If you can get through phase 1 pretty cleanly, phase 2 should be pretty easy. But yeah, we'll see. Look, Pally Power hasn't changed a fucking lick. It's exactly the same.
The most complex. She'll shield herself with a mana barrier that causes any damage she takes to drain her mana instead. In order to get to phase 2, you'll need to empty out her entire mana pool. Deathwhisper herself has no aggro table during this phase and will stand still chain casting shadow bolts at random raid members along with a handful of other abilities I'll cover shortly. Meanwhile, waves of adds will be spawning from the edges of the room, 3 from each side and 1 from the stairs at the entrance. 2 types of adds can spawn, Cult Fanatics and Cult Adherents. Cult Fanatics are fairly straightforward melee attackers, although they do have a very powerful cleave that will need to be avoided by melee DPS. Adherents are casters who will spend most of their time casting some fairly inconsequential DPS abilities. However, they do have a very dangerous curse called Curse of Torpor that increases ability cooldowns by 15 seconds. This should be dispelled immediately. The key to this phase is putting just enough DPS on the adds to kill them before another wave spawns, and letting the rest of your DPS focus on killing the boss.
So, similar to a Nubarak, you want to do just enough DPS to these adds that they die right before the next set spawns, so that you can put more DPS on Deathwhisper and phase faster. Just like the adds on a Nubarak, ideally, you want them to die. You want to do enough damage to meet the work level damage cap. Yes, exactly. We'll see what the damage cap is. But yeah, you want them to die like just in time so that you don't fall prey to overkilling them. Everyone just sits around with their dick in their hand and not enough people are doing damage to Deathwhisper. I think that we will likely find, and I don't know this for sure, that there might be some like pull the ads on top of the boss situation. You know what I mean? Cleave the boss and the ads. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. The casters are going to be hard to move. The things will cleave. Who knows? We'll fuck around with it. But this is also probably a really good fight for a warrior tank because Shockwave is going to be really, really strong. We'll see. This is one of those fights that will have a lot of evolution over the course of the phase for both Prog to make it super clean and simple and also speedrunning, right? Because if you can DPS her more and just juggle the ads longer, then fewer ads will spawn overall, and you'll be able to have less damage to do to them and more to her, right? I know that I'm min-maxing this a little bit more than most of you give a fuck about, but that's something to think about. We'll see exactly what happens. Unholy DKs are going to be really good early, like Wendy is saying. They're still going to be really strong. And honestly, depending on the kill time, you know, who knows? But you're going to be happy you geared them early, and you'll still probably use one. I remember a guild that would kite one type of ad the entire second phase. DPS would focus the boss. Crazy to think we probably won't have to do that. Yeah, we'll see. Barrel takes over? Yeah. I hope warriors are shining. Okay, let's get into it.
Ideally, you should have melee DPS split between the two sides with one tank for each group, and a third tank picking up the single ad that spawns from the entryway. Although the type of ad that spawns from the entrance appears to be random, the two side groups are always the same. As you're facing the boss,
look
the
at
group on the
Shockwave
left
here.
will always
Shockwave
be two fanatics and one adherent, and the group on the right will always be two adherents and one fanatic. The adherents should be quickly burned down by melee DPS while the tank focuses on picking up the fanatics. Once all three ads on the side have been killed, melee should run over to kill the entryway ad. Meanwhile, your range and caster DPS will be focusing on the boss while also dealing with the rest of Deathwhisper's
Isn't there
abilities.
like a
She'll be
curse
dropping
or
large
something
green death and
also
decays on the ground from time to time.
that you
Move
need
out
to
of them.
cleanse?
She'll also occasionally mind control a single raid member who will need to be crowd controlled quickly. The final tricks up Deathwhisper's sleeves, at least for Phase 1, come in the form of spells she casts on her cultist minions. Deathwhisper can empower a cultist, granting it a couple extra abilities. Empowered adherents cast a magic shield and a dangerous AoE, while empowered fanatics will deal increased damage and heal for 300% of the damage they deal. These are somewhat dangerous, but it appears that they can be purged or possibly even spell stolen. She can also resurrect...
So if I recall correctly, the empowered mobs are like super spooky and need to be handled. It probably won't be something that matters long term, because if we can spell steal it like he's saying, the mages are going to be all over that. But if it's not and it has to just be dealt with, it can be spooky.
Fallen cultists as skeletal adherents or skeletal fanatics. Skeletal adherents have a 99% reduction to magical damage taken and should simply be picked up and killed by the melee DPS. Skeletal fanatics, however, have a 99% reduction to physical damage, so the casters will need to swap off the boss temporarily and burn these down when they appear.
So casters on the skeletal fanatics, melee on the
Phase 1 can take a while to get through, but if you can keep everything under control, it's fairly simple. Melee kills the ads, ranged kills the boss. Healers will need to be on their toes as damage has a tendency to come fairly quickly without warning on random raid members. Crowd control will need to be fast as well.
I'm interested to see long-term what we do with the mind control. Like, I doubt it can be human racial, right? Do you just chains of ice and grip it and you just run like a train doing that, or like cyclone them? Yeah, there's got to be some meta way to do it. You're going to get so mad if you get mind controlled. Similar to Kolagarn grabbing you, you're going to be very mad. Tremor, I doubt Tremor works. Pop CDs on them. DJ Texter knows what's up. Dude, look at this raid. 4 druids, 4 shamans. Yeah, that's an Alonda take if I've ever seen one. All right, so we're just killing ads, and the casters are primarily doing damage on Deathwhisper. I wonder, like, the mages are going to want to living bomb everything, right? Oh. I think the MC killed him. That rogue just lit him the fuck up. Yeah, Priest just mind controls the mind control. This guy's just trolling, jumping on this guy's corpse. Ha ha ha. This is normal, yeah. Kill if they're the raid leader? Yeah. I think you probably don't kill them. It's not like, I don't know, the trash on the way to Vezax, because it's a boss. You can't lose people. I also think that this is wrong. You don't fight them in the cubbies. You let them come in. I mean, depending on if you're doing two sides, you let them come in and you cleave them. You don't do this shit. You just like interrupt and pull them back into a group. This music is so funny. All right, so we're about to enter phase 2, I believe. Yeah, should I use this music for my boss guides? I feel like I can't. I probably... Just say no. All right, so the Death and Decay is pretty large. This feels super manageable. Dark Empowerment on something. It's not on this side, so it's on the other side. Oh, it might be that guy. I can't tell. The weak auras are going to handle most of this. You'll know exactly who you yoink things from, what you're standing in. Like I think weak auras will make this fight pretty trivial. A lot of it's just like awareness, and weak auras make your awareness like way higher. So it should be pretty easy. We haven't gotten into phase 2 yet, Bora. But I don't know how close she is. It's got to be close. Looks like they're setting up for phase 2. Are all these guys with the buff? They have a Chill of the Throne, but I don't know if they have the thing. I don't see a thing. Yeah, I don't see it. There's no percent buff here, but it is on normal. Death and Decay. It doesn't even hit that hard. I mean, I guess it's normal, but yeah, that's fair, Windy.
Once Deathwhisper's mana has finally been depleted, her mana shield is destroyed.
Oh, look, he has a
phase 2
Deathlock.
begins. Ads will no longer spawn, so it's best.
That's kind of cool. I didn't notice that.
Depleted, her mana shield is destroyed and phase 2 begins. Ads will no longer spawn, so it's best to try to time this to happen just after a wave has been killed.
Okay, wave is dead. We run into Deathwhisper. So take note.
Deathwhisper gains a few abilities during phase 2. The first is a single target frostbolt that she casts on the tank. This hits for around 50k and cannot be resisted, so you'll need to set up an interrupt rotation to make sure none get through.
Great, an interrupt rotation. Everybody loves an interrupt rotation.
She also casts an AoE frostbolt volley that appears to be unavoidable and simply needs to be healed through. Probably the most dangerous ability gained in phase 2, however, is her Vengeful Spirits. She'll spawn a large number of these around the room, which will move to nearby raid members and explode for a very large amount of damage. These are unfortunately
Dude, they just
very small
fucking
and hard
tore
to
him
see,
up.
especially in the melee, so be watching carefully for them. Of course, she'll still be casting Death and Decay and mind-controlling raid members during this phase, so be sure to keep moving out of green circles.
Fucking gamer.
Her last ability is called Touch of Insignificance. It's a debuff that reduces threat caused by 20% per stack with up to 5 stacks. She casts this on the tank, so your tanks will need to taunt off of each other every so often to keep from having threat issues.
So you 2-tank it. I wonder if you could No. You 2-tank it. So you... I mean, depending on how long it lasts for, it stacks. Your threat goes down for each stack to the point where you're not generating enough to keep ahead of your DPS. And then your tank 2 taunts and starts to stack, and hopefully yours resets. She's dying pretty fast. It's normal, but still. Oh yeah, raged. Then who does she put it on? The fucking windy emo. No, I do not think they will buff ICC. Pretty chill. Interrupt the frost bolts. Tank swap. Get out of death and decay. Watch the mind controls.
The key to Lady Deathwhisper
no big
is
deal.
getting Phase 1 under control and getting through it cleanly for the transition into Phase 2. Once you've got that down, the hardest part is just keeping an eye out for the tiny blue ghosts that are coming to kill you. After all, you don't want to be the guy who dies at 12% and then uploads the video to YouTube.
You died
If you'd
earlier.
like more information on this or any
don't
other
worry
encounter,
about it.
check the Project Marmot forums at tankspot.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, just follow the link in the movie details.
They do not have a buff. These are his buffs. He does not have the buff. Big deal in hard mode. Let's see what the hard mode differences are. Let's look. 25 heroic. Other than every ability simply hitting harder, the main difference in the counter is that may encourage groups to alter the strategy is the doubled hit points on Deathwhisper, thus extending phase 2. The heroic encounter is similar to the mover encounter. Raids probably can focus all DPS on adds because more damage must be done on Deathwhisper. It seems likely that crowd control may be needed at least some of the adds through the entirety of phase 2 in order to beat the enrage timer, at least until the encounter is outgeared. Wait, are the adds spawning during phase? Oh, they do. Okay, so adds spawn during phase 2. Ooh, spicier. Okay, no big deal. That's a big difference. So you have to pull stuff in. So I guess what will happen likely is that one tank will pick up the adds while the other one tanks. And then when the one that's tanking Deathwhisper gets enough stacks of the thing, the one that's picking up the adds will go and taunt Deathwhisper while that one goes and grabs the adds. But does the buff remove your... Oh, you can't taunt. Okay. Well, then, yeah, you're just going to have to tank swap and pull the adds into the thing, I guess. You could kite them, I guess, and it's kind of a DPS race with the goal of burning her fast enough that you don't have to worry about the adds and get overwhelmed. That's going to be spicy. This will be a fun one. It'll also brick your speed run very early, which could be fun. So yeah, I'm excited. Misdirect tricks into the off tank, so as the first tank's threat drops, the second tank can climb. That makes sense. 3 tanks felt comfy, 2 is a shit show. Yeah. That feels right. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm very excited to try this. She drops some dope stuff. Isn't there like a caster trinket that she drops or something? Whispering Fang Skull and 10 man. This is better than DV for warriors. Sorry, warriors. And then there's like a dagger. There's a nice staff. Your harmful spells have a chance to summon a Valkyr. That's cool. Mostly caster stuff. Let's do the next one. The next one is everyone's favorite boss. I know you guys love it. Ooh, a video from Asmongold about how to solo Gunship in ICC.
What's up, y'all? It's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today I'm going to be doing a request that I got from about a dozen people today, and that's how to solo Gunship, alright? And I'll be doing this on 25-man heroic, and so...
Listen, guys. Asmon made guides. I make guides. It's a start of something, and eventually I'll be as rich as Asmongold. That's how it works.
Welcome to the Tankspot ICECROWN Citadel Raid Guide. My name is Darksend, and in this video, I will show you our strategy for the gunship battle, the third encounter in the lower spire. If you'd like more
So, Gunship is required, as far as we know, to get up to Deathbringer Saurfang. It's considered an easy fight, but it's also still a fight that you need to learn. A lot of people back in the day used to do normal all the way through, but still do heroic Gunship because it was, easier.
information, or would like to learn more about downloading this,
It's a fun,
click more info on the
non-traditional
information box on YouTube
encounter.
to head directly to Tankspot.
You might end up hating it.
Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right to be automatically notified as we release new movies.
Canon scale at high
Finally,
level, I didn't know
Tankspot
that.
donors can download all these movies in high definition directly from our servers. Click the second link in the movie information.
All right, so depending on what faction you are going to be on one ship or the other. This is the Alliance ship, this is the Horde ship, this is a Horde raid, so they're blasting the Alliance ship. The goal is to blow up the Alliance ship, and then the Horde ship will fly up to where Saurfang is, and you start that fight. It is generally pretty easy once people understand how the fight works. This guy right here is where you pick up your jetpack. And everybody grabs a jetpack, even if they don't need it. It takes up the shirt slot in your character, which is something that you don't normally use, which is kind of cool. And then you'll have a macro likely that will use it, and you can jump to places around the map. So this lets you jump from the Horde ship to the Alliance ship if you want to. You'll assign people to jump to the Alliance ship, and they will do the thing over there, and some people will stay on the Horde side and manage stuff over here. And then you have to assign people to the cannons, and the cannons will do damage to the adds, but they will also do damage to the ship itself. And the ultimate goal of the fight is for the cannons to do enough damage to the ship itself to take it down. And everybody that's not in a cannon's goal is to make it so that the adds don't overwhelm everybody, kill the people in the cannons, which then lowers your DPS on the ship. And so you're kind of just managing the adds so that the cannon people can do their job for long enough, and then the ship goes down.
Box to learn more. Depending on your faction, you'll take control of one of the ships that normally float.
So there's the people with the
jetpacks. After taking the elevator up, Horde will go right and take control of Orgrim's hammer, and Alliance will go left and take control of the Skybreaker. Make sure everyone has a jetpack equipped. Even if they are not assigned to go over to the other ship, it is a good idea to have a contingency in case someone who is going over dies.
There's a portal here, right? And then on this side, there are portal channelers. And the portals are set up so that they can send enemies from their side to your side and fuck shit up. So you have a tank here managing these adds with some DPS. And then you will send people to this side to do some DPS, and he'll explain it.
That is done. You start the fight by talking to either Saurfang if you're a Horde, or Bronzebeard if you are Alliance. The goal of the encounter is to destroy the other ship through the use of the guns located on the side of the ship. We assigned 4 ranged DPS to control the guns. The goal of the gunners is to build up heat using the normal cannon blast in order to maximize the secondary cannon blast, which converts all the heat into extra damage.
So you have like 2 or 3 buttons as a cannoneer. The one button is just like a regular, like throwing cannons. And then you have a red bar, kind of like rage, that will, it's the 2 button. Okay. Red bar that builds every time you throw those cannonballs, right? And then when you have rage full, you can, or close to full, you don't want to go over, you will dump a large attack onto it for like 50k plus or whatever. So the goal is to just, it's kind of like Malagos. You're not stacking debuffs, but it's like you want to build up rage with the little hits, and then once the rage bar is like close to full, you dump the big hit. However, you don't want it to overheat, and if the rage bar fills up all the way, you will get stunned, and it will dump all of your heat, and you'll be sad.
The trick is to make sure you do not overheat your gun while still maximizing the secondary weapon. If you overheat, you will render your gun useless for several seconds. Periodically, a battle mage will spawn on the enemy ship, and the guns will get frozen.
They're not combo points. It's a bar with a static value that goes up, and it will lower over time.
While over there, the opposing leader gains a stacking buff, which increases his damage done. If the tank starts getting into trouble, simply have everyone jump back onto your own ship, and the leader's buff will reset.
Okay, so what he was saying, Saurfang, or for the best DPS, you start spamming 1 and keep 90 before the fight start, and then you go for big 2 on the enemy ship, then you spam 1 and 2 at the same time. That's the best DPS. Okay, Robbie. I haven't looked into it, Robbie. That sounds right though. FB hit cap, interesting. So what he was talking about is that on the enemy ship, you go over there to engage the big boss, right? And when you're over there, he's like gets progressively more pissed and starts building buffs. And then over time, the buff stacks to the point where he's really trucking the hell out of your tank. And so at that point, you need to reset him. So everybody jumps back to their ship, and like the whole team's over here. So then he resets, the buff falls off, and then you can jump back over and re-engage. So you're managing like killing ads over there. You're trying really hard to like tank the boss. You're doing blah, blah, blah. Everyone jump over, use sapper, ship explodes. Yeah, exactly.
Ideally, you want the leader to have 0 stacks when the guns get
That's
frozen,
true, Meepo.
so you can go over and
we'll
break
see
the
if that's
channel
a thing.
immediately, as the guns are the only way to win the encounter. While this is happening, a portal will appear above your own ship and spawn several Marines and 2 Sergeants periodically. Skybreaker Sergeants do a wounding strike, which reduces healing taken by 25%.
This tank has 70k
They also have a
HP.
Blade Storm.
He's scarab.
After a while, both the
Jadora,
Sergeants
thank
and
you.
Marines
Actually, we
get
can go.
a
Why don't we
permanent
just
stacking buff called Experienced.
I'd be surprised.
Jord, not
This
as
increases their
Jord, not
damage
as
by
Jord,
30%.
not as.
Thanks,
And
Jadora.
attack and casting speed by 20% per stack. They also periodically gain a buff called Desperate Resolve, which increases armor by 60% and attack speed by 60%. This buff lasts 30 seconds. These waves are killed by AoE classes with strong AoE.
You can send all ranged DPS to sit on the enemy ship at the back and wait for the mage spawn and nuke him instantly. Robbie, does that not aggro the enemy captain? He just sits there. If that's true, that's interesting. It doesn't aggro him. Okay. Well, we'll give that a try. If that's true, it sounds a little cheesy, but you know, if it works, it works.
AoE abilities, and AoE down by the melee.
They've had these guns frozen way too long. This is embarrassing how long these things have not been firing.
When they're on your own ship, letting the other leader's stack reset. If they are not tanked, they will use an ability called Burning Pitch. This deals siege damage to your ship. The Skybreaker does not have guns the same way Orgrim's Hammer does. Instead, they have Skybreaker Riflemen.
The bottleneck of the fight is the mages. You need the mages to die immediately because they will freeze your guns, and your guns are the length of the fight. The more that the guns are up building heat and dumping heat and all that, the shorter the fight will be. So you really need to make sure that you're killing those mages so that they don't freeze the
Your
guns.
ranged classes without strong AoE
This is
abilities
bad. This is
should
real
be
bad.
lined up along the edge of your ship, shooting
they're
across,
finally
killing
out.
these riflemen. It should be noted, however, that if the ads coming out of the portal begin to overwhelm the tank, these range should switch and begin single targeting them down immediately. Finally, throughout the entire fight, the enemy will constantly be shooting rockets over. They are very easy to avoid.
The rockets
so it
are
takes
like
several seconds
nothing.
for them to land after the graphic appears. It should be noted that this is the Horde version of this fight. The names of the ships are reversed, as well as the names of the individual units will be different on the Alliance side. Thanks for watching this movie.
So apparently eye level does work for the guns. So this fight's generally pretty easy. You just have to juggle the ads long enough for the guns to kill the enemy ship, right? And like it's been 4 minutes. They should be done, but these have been frozen for fucking ever, so whatever.
As
I
always,
don't have one
feel
more
free
shot.
to ask questions or add suggestions either here on YouTube or on the strategy thread at tankspot.com.
Yeah, if you fall off, we can't res you. You gotta run back. And if you fall off, we can't res you during the fight. So you're just out. It's not that big a deal. Drew is just bearing it up hard. Yeah, this guy's UI is pretty good. These are his debuffs. I like the debuffs being close to the center. So it's just managing those ads. It's swapping back over when the buff gets too high over there. It's killing the mages, and then making sure that your gunners are just dumping their DPS into the ship. And you can DPS the ads as a gunner, right? And do damage to the ship itself at the same time. Not bad. Pretty easy. And remember, in ICC, you can swap back and forth between normal and heroic in the same lockout like you can with TOGC, but you don't lose loot at the end. So you can do normal for the first 2 bosses if your guild's struggling for whatever reason, and then do heroic this. You should always do heroic Gunship. That should be like that's the easiest fight in here. If you're struggling with heroic Gunship, no, Tisk, they haven't. But I'd be surprised if that was not a thing. I'd be very surprised, Tisk, if that's required. Very surprised. Heroic Lich King week 1 will be a banger. Okay, so there it goes. The Alliance ship is defeated. We clean up the odds, and then the ship goes up to where you fight Deathbringer Saurfang. The thing that people are worried about, and I don't think it's something to necessarily stress about as an Alliance player, is that the RP to start the Deathbringer Saurfang event is longer for Horde than it is for Alliance. So Warcraft Logs is already saying, don't worry, we're going to remove that time. If you're a Horde player, whatever. If you're racing for World First, then, you know, Horde lose a minute. It is what it is. Alliance advantage, let's remove it, yeah. I feel like the time that you make up from berserking over the course of the whole raid might be about a minute. So maybe it is even. Who fucking knows? I'm for leaving it. Okay, Deathbringer Saurfang.
Welcome back.
So this is logout reset doesn't work, Bora. Pumel, I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Deathbringer Saurfang. One of the cooler bosses in here. It is one of those fights that people are going to love to parse on because it's got a lot of stand there and pump type mechanics, which people really love. This will be one of those fights that you really want to tighten up as much as you can because you can gain a lot of time just from your raid's DPS. It's not a tank and spank, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's somewhere in the middle there.
Back to the ICECROWN Raid Guide. My name is The Great Me, and in this video I will be discussing our strategy for Deathbringer Saurfang, which is the 4th boss in the ICECROWN Citadel
He
raid
spelled ICECROWN wrong. There's no space here.
instance. The Deathbringer Saurfang.
Alright, so the raid. So behind us is the ship. This is looks like an Alliance raid. Cool. They do not have the buff. So keep that in mind.
Encounter is a burn down fight that gets progressively harder as the fight goes on.
A lone orc?
This encounter relies on good execution and being able to focus your healing and DPS as needed. One of the most important mechanics of the fight is a buff that Saurfang has, which is called Blood Link. Whenever Saurfang...
Of course there's a heroic version of Saurfang, and we'll talk about that, but we're going to watch the normal version because the heroic boss guide builds off of your knowledge from the normal version, and I don't know the normal version that well, so neither do a lot of people, so we're going to talk about the normal one and then we'll get into the heroic one afterwards. This is similar to the Sunwell Radiance buff, where you lose, I think it's dodge, right? It's like 20% less dodge. All right, Blood Link. Saurfang gains blood power from damage he inflicts with abilities and summoned creatures.
Or one of his summoned creatures damages a player, it will cause him to gain blood power. For every one.
So it's just like Rage, he gets blood power as it goes up.
1 point of blood power Saurfang has, he will grow 1% larger and do 1% more damage.
This is the Chill of the Throne. It's 20% minus dodge, I think. Tanks were dodging too much just like they were in Sunwell, and so they put a debuff in to let tanks be a bit more hittable.
Your range should be spread out so that they are all at least 12 yards away from each other. This is
That's
because
true,
of Blood
Snow.
Nova,
That's true, we
which
are
will
that.
hit a random player as well as anyone within 12 yards of them for 9,500 to 10,500 damage.
So notice that the whole raid is spread out for like 10 yards away from each other, and everyone else is stacked.
For every player that is hit by Blood Nova, Deathbringer
Call Blood Beast.
Saurfang will gain 2 blood power. Saurfang will use this ability every 20 to 30 seconds, so keep that in mind when you're raid healing. Saurfang will also use an ability called Boiling Blood, which is the damage over time debuff that does 5,000 damage every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. This debuff is usually placed on 4 raid members at a time, but sometimes it will be applied to more people. Deathbringer Saurfang will also gain 1 blood power for each tick of boiling blood. Deathbringer Saurfang will also put a debuff on.
Which tanks does the 20% dodge reduce hurt the most, or is it pretty much equal? Probably DKs and Feral Druids. I don't know. Anything that doesn't have a shield dodge would hurt the most. Okay, so Rune of Blood leeches 5,100 to 6,900 health from an enemy target and heals him for 5 times that amount.
The tank called Rune of Blood. This causes Saurfang's melee attacks to leech 5,100 to 6,900 health from the target and heals Saurfang for 5 times the amount leeched. This debuff lasts 20 seconds, and on normal mode, the healing it does to Saurfang is not large enough to warrant bringing in a second tank over a DPS. However, in this video, my guild did bring in 2 tanks because at the time we were unsure of the mechanic, and we also wanted to have a backup just in case. Whenever Deathbringer Saurfang hits 100 blood power, he will place a debuff on a random raid member called Mark of the Fallen Champion. This debuff causes all of Deathbringer Saurfang's melee attacks to hit this target, plus an additional 5,700 to 6,300 damage per hit. Every time this player is hit, Deathbringer Saurfang will gain 1 blood power, and if the player that has Mark of the Fallen Champion dies under the effect of this debuff, it will cause Deathbringer Saurfang to be healed for 5% of his total health.
Okay, so that's probably the most important mechanic in here. Mark of the Champion. So let's go and look at it. Let's do the heroic version. Mark of the Fallen Champion. Causes his melee attacks to splash to this target, inflicting a bunch of damage. If the target dies while under it, he's healed for 5% of his health. It can't be dispelled or removed by any means. So do you bop this? Do you paint up it? It lasts for how long? You just have to heal it. Huh. You can pop it to prevent. How long does it last? Last for the whole fight. All right, you just got to heal it. And does he do he does multiple of them. Okay. So it's just a DPS race cuz you can't stack up Mark of the Champion too many times or else you just have too much damage to heal. And yeah, every time he gets 100 blood power, it's GG. And so if you do it too many times, it's too many people and blah, blah, blah. So you can't have one person solo tank it because they'll start to spam it. Okay. Stack on tank for chain heals, beacon splash if you have debuff and easy clap. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think that there's a big argument to be made to just stack the fuck out of the raid with DPS and try to skip as many of them as you can and just lean in that direction instead of trying to manage it. You know what I mean? Like people are saying you beacon one and bomb the tank. The second pally beacons the other one, bombs the tank, and then hopefully the boss is dead by then. I don't know how long it's going to take, but you just got to give it a go and see. This will be a fun fight to drop healers on. Yeah, healing for 20% of the total health, that's awful. Yeah, so like Sarah said, the more of those that go out, the more he's getting blood root power, the more blood power, he's doing more mechanics, and shit just gets fucked. So, okay.
Mark of the Fallen Champion has an infinite duration and cannot be removed by any abilities. It will also persist through death, so if you plan on battle resing somebody who died with it, make sure that they have a bunch of heals right when they pop up. Because Mark gives Saurfang blood power, it means that the speed at which he gains blood
Novalock,
power
thanks, man.
exponentially as time time goes on. So the faster you kill him, the easier it will
I don't know Chaotic Goalie.
One way to help negate some of the damage that Saurfang does is to disarm or dismantle him whenever he has around 80 blood power. Doing this will obviously reduce tank damage, but more importantly, it will also reduce the damage that anybody with Mark of the Fallen Champion will take.
Cool, I like that idea. Disarm him close to...
Also, because all of the damage in this encounter is physical,
100 blood
it's not
power.
a bad idea to have your mages buff the raid with Amplify Magic.
Thanks, Novlock.
Approximately every 30 seconds, Saurfang will spawn 5 blood beasts in a circle around him. Each blood beast
I have
has
27.
approximately 91,000 health, and all blood beasts have a buff that reduces their AoE damage taken by 95% and disease damage taken by 70%. Whenever a
Did
blood
you hear
beast
that? Disease damage taken reduced by 70%. So the 6 unholy DKs that someone suggested might not be totally possible. Well, he reduces AoE damage also. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
successfully lands a melee attack, it will cause Saurfang to gain 1 blood power. For this reason, the blood beasts are to be kited rather than tanked.
Kited rather than tanked.
Blood beasts are susceptible to all snares
you-
and stuns.
Yeah, you
so
frost
ideally
trap.
You want to have hunters make a path of frost traps so they can be snared the entire time while being kited. Moonkin Druids are also one of the best classes to do the kiting because they have Typhoon, which can be used to push the blood beast back and essentially reset the kite. When each pack of blood beast spawns, your Moonkin should be channeling Hurricane as they spawn so they can get initial aggro. Hunters should also use Misdirect on the Moonkin and use Multi-Shot to help get aggro on all of the ads. Once all of the ads have cleared the melee, ranged DPS should focus down all of the ads, but they should pick one target at a time rather than splitting DPS.
Getting people to kill these
Melee
blood
who
beasts
use an
is also going to be one of those things that nobody wants to do. Although I feel like mages would be really good on this fight because you just living bomb the fuck out of all of them. Yeah, exactly, Wrath. That's exactly right. If you like living bomb them, they're all just going to pop and they just will die. You know what I mean?
AoE ability in their normal rotation, such as Fury Warriors and Paladins, need to be aware of the timers for when the next pack of Blood Beasts are going to spawn. They also need to make sure that their AoE does not hit the Blood Beast when it spawns, because then it may cause them to have initial aggro and therefore get hit.
Okay, so your melee need to be very careful about not cleaving right as the blood beast spawn. That doesn't seem too hard. The only thing, Frost DKs will pesty to reset their diseases, so whatever. Just don't do it right then. Warriors, Whirlwind, just watch it, stuff like that. And Heroic, they focus. I mean, you just don't Whirlwind right when the things come out. Yeah, D&D. That's true. That sucks. If in Heroic they do, we'll look in a second, fixate, then it shouldn't be that big a deal. Well, Howling Blast won't work, Murdo, because they take reduced damage from AoE, so.
Thank you for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either in the comments section on YouTube or in the thread dedicated to this guide on Tankspot.com. Also, Tankspot donors can download all of these movies directly from our servers in high definition. Click the second link.
Get the
in
movies
movie
from their
information
servers,
box to
guys.
learn
Get
more.
the movies from their servers. Okay. Cool. Well, that is Deathbringer Saurfang. I enjoyed that very much. I think that we will look at the Heroic real quick, actually. I'm sorry, I'm Heroic mode. The primary difference in Heroic are shortened rage timer, who cares? Blood Beast catching scent of blood 5 seconds after spawning. Okay. 5 seconds after spawning, they reduce the movement speed of the entire raid by 80% for 10 seconds. And then you just can't let anybody die with Mark of Blood. His blood power gain is much faster than normal. Blood Beasts also hit hard enough. This doesn't say that they fixate. I don't know. Freedom the targets? It's a lot of freedoms, though. I don't know. Okay, so on a first kill, prepare for at least 2 marks on 10 man and 6 marks on 25 man. Assign 1 dedicated healer per mark. If healers are struggling towards the end of the fight, they can stop healing one of the tanks because of the mechanics of Rune of Blood. 2 Holy Pallies, 1. This will be one of those fights that I think is a lot easier than it used to be, just because of our DPS. We'll see. And then also, when he dies and inevitably Belt of the Blood Nova drops, you're gonna want to fucking kill somebody because it's not Deathbringer's will. Get ready to hate this belt. Get ready to hate this belt. Hate it. Hate it. It's the values are wrong because it's fucking retail values, but get ready to hate it. What's Belt of Blood Nova Prio? Fucking dumpster Prio. DBW, however, I don't know. What's DBW Prio, guys?
Actually, it's your Red Paladin that will get it.
There you go. All right, I'm very excited about Saurfang. All right, guys. That's it for today. Tomorrow at 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern, we will do Plaguewing and Bloodwing. We'll talk about those bosses. So come back tomorrow for that. This will go onto YouTube. So check out the YouTube for that and get ready for more ICC stuff. That is going to be very, very, very fun. And I'll be here for most of it.